Hi there, welcome along as the World Pool rolls back into gear and into town in Newmarket for the first time in 2025. We're going to look at all 9 races, starting off, of course, with the very first one of the day. And it is a decent race in its own right. It is the Chaliner Stakes, listed over 1,200 metres. It's run for filly and mares, and in the context, as you see the course map there, in the context of the history of, say, a race like the 2000 Guineas, this is a relative newcomer in Newmarket terms, only the 4th running since it was switched from Nottingham. Let's have a look at the runners and riders in 2025. A Day in Devon, Frost at Dawn, Night Eyes, Pure Angel, Tiger Bay, Unequal Love, she's back for more, The Dream, Binierella Bay. They are the 8 as they go forward, and while some things change, the year, of course, some things are reassuringly the same. John Blance and Graham Cunningham back for 2025. Graham, let's talk all things Unequal Love and her success last year.
Fantastic to be back, John and Nick. And Unequal Love is the obvious starting point here because she thrived starting with this win in this race last year, John. She is a stalk and pounce type of filly. She handles Newmarket well. She handles a sound surface well. She went on after this to win at Royal Ascot. She ran very well in Group 1 company at Haydock. What is not to like about Unequal Love?
Very little not to like about it. That's not a rather tortured start to the World Pool season. Yeah, this was a pretty good renewal of this race last year. First 3 well clear of the rest, and then, as you say, she won the Wokingham, and she ran really well in the piece of form that we're about to see, the Haydock Park Sprint Cup, the Group 1, Graham, in your neck of the woods.
And just on a general point for this race, shocks are rare in this race, Nick. Haggis, William Haggis, Unequal Love's trainer, has won 3 of the last 6 renewals, and we tend to get a good mix of 3-year-olds and older fillies. Sierra in the red colours there, the Shively Park colours, slightly short of room, but she comes home strongly behind a couple of Britain's best 6-furlong horses, and if she's in this sort of form and the Ascot winning the Wokingham off 102, she's going to take plenty of beating, John.
Yeah, she's going to need a strong pace setter, but she'll get it because Frost at Dawn's in the race, and A Day in Devon will be a bit sharper, I think, after that Bath run. So, yeah, she's the obvious on-top selection for me.
Frost at Dawn is rapid. She's got, Unequal Love's got that Group 1 entry at Royal Ascot. We'll see if that's the way they want to point. She's run well in a Group 1 already, as we saw. Graham, the 1, 2, 3, 4 to start us off.
Keeping it very simple for race 1 at Newmarket this weekend. 6, Unequal Love, has the best form. She won this race last year. I think she can do it again. Horse I think can go well at a price is number 3, Night Eyes, who signed off with a moderate run last year. Prior to that, she'd been going along really well. 2 and 1 as backup, but 6, Unequal Love on top for race 1.
Yep, Unequal Love for me as well. Pretty obvious selection. Don't rule out Vadream in this race as well. Obviously a former Palace House winner. There's a narrative about this horse that she needs soft ground. She probably does, but she's run well on some pretty fast surfaces as well. At this level, I think she'll go well. A Day in Devon with early speed. Frost at Dawn with loads of early speed. Smallish field. I think the pair of them will probably hang around for a while, but it'll just set it up nicely for Unequal Love.
Lads, I wanted to be a bit contrary and take you on, but I'm not going to. I think she'll win. Unequal Love to make it back-to-back wins. Number 6 for me in the first race. Best of luck, whatever you're playing. Race 2, this big World Pool day at Newmarket 2000 Guineas Days, a heritage handicap. It's run over 1,200 metres and very much like the first race, identical to the first race, the same track and trip as they hit that little dip and rise before they hit the winning post right in front of the hallowed grandstand at Newmarket. Let's have a look at the runners. This year, Lethal Levi, Pero Sangue, Woodhay Wonder we'll be talking about, down to the likes of Run Boy Run, More Thunder, a Ram Ram, they know each other well, Silky Wilkie, Two Tribes, Stanage, Aberama Gold, that horse who stood the test of time and then some. Graham, let's come to you and have a look at some Craven meeting form at the track a few weeks ago. It is impossible to ignore the form of More Thunder with the likes of a Ram Ram and others involved.
Absolutely. This has to be a key galloping clue. Woodhay Wonder, Haloed, is a model of consistency. A Ram Ram is uncomplicated and smart. There is your winner, More Thunder. He's come from a fair way back on softish ground, John. When we see him hit the line, he is well on top. Just a £5 penalty for this success. I think he might be a short price. My one reservation, winning time here, 73.39. The ground will be much faster this weekend. This is a horse who won over 1.25 miles for Sir Michael Stout last year. He's clearly effective at 6, but this is a sharper test this week. And you still like him, though, I think?
I do, yeah, because it's very interesting that William Haggas decided to turn him into a sprinter when he inherited him from Sir Michael Stoute.
Because Sir Michael Stoute's never been any good, really.
Well, exactly. So it's a bold move to completely change a horse's running plan. And, yeah, he got a strong gallop there. He's going to get a really strong gallop here as well, because Wood A Wonder runs again. Lethal Levi's in the race too. There'll be others that want to go on as well. Silky Wilkie in the race. He's really quick up front too. So he's going to get a lovely pace set up. There is the ground situation to think about, but I'm happy to, even with that £5 penalty, give him a chance to win again.
He's only had 6 runs, so he's still open to improvement. But I'm just trying to think around the price here, and if he's short, a couple of the horses who were just behind him, a Ram Ram and Wood Hay Wonder, come right back into this.
I like Ram Ram very much. Let's have a look at a horse that John actually mentioned. John, I'll throw this to you. Lethal Levi running in Group Race Company at the Craven meeting last time. I mean, he finished last year in great form, in proper handicaps. Yes, he's never won on the Rolling Mile course. The other course at Newmarket's been his bag, but he's a tremendous horse.
He is. He might have been slightly flattered here in this Group 3, the Aberdant Stakes, as he got out and went quickly, but the rest didn't. He got a bit of a solo out in front. He was able just to slow things down a bit. You can see he battles on well here as well. But on the speed in this race, I think he'll go very nicely. He's run well this course and distance in the past. And I think, yeah, he's going to be sticking around, although he's going to have more pace pressure in this handicap race than he did in that Group 3 race.
He improved from a mark of 92 to 109 last year. But he's off 109. That demands a sort of Group 2 level performance to win. He can run well, but I think there are horses who are a bit less exposed than he is now.
Maybe one of which is Stanage, as we go back again to the Craven meeting. This was behind £10. The front two putting up a good battle on the day, £10 the winner. But let's have a look at Stanage, who finished third. Graham, doing something new altogether. It's never run at this distance.
Used to be a Gosden horse. One sweeping through from the rear, Doncaster over 7 last year, 25 to 1. Third, 7 furlongs, Newmarket again, little unbalanced into the dip, staying on strongly, slightly short of room. The way he carried himself awkwardly into the dip, John, is a little bit of a concern for me.
It is a little bit, but I did like the way he came up the hill as well. And I think, again, a really strongly run 6 furlongs will suit that horse. That was over the 1400, but I think the 1200 should be fine. He was blocked in his run a couple of times there as well. So I think he's interesting down towards the bottom of the weights.
John, let's get your thoughts on Two Tribes. Puns are available on this horse, looking to run well again at this meeting, first up as he did last year.
Indeed, yeah. When Two Tribes went to war last year, he ran very, very well at this particular meeting. And I think he's got every chance of doing so again. Interesting, Richard Spencer and Sylvester de Souza teaming up here. It was a good run at Ayr last time out at the back end of the season in the big handicap up there. And I think, yeah, the fact he ran well. Look at the horses that have been in and around him. James's Delight and what's that? It was Chagrin, wasn't the horse in third there? So that's good form. They pulled away from the rest. I wouldn't be surprised if Two Tribes runs a very good race.
Looking forward to this. Graham?
I think the Newmarket race we saw as the first clip is key here. It could be More Thunder's just too progressive, but I think the placed horses there, 9, a Ram Ram, who's been dead consistent, and he's got a very solid chance. 3, Wood Hay Wonder, what a record that horse has got on the Rolling Mile. I think it's 4 wins and a third. 7, Run By Run. Run Boy Run has been running really well on the all-weather, and 8, More Thunder in for 4th. But I think the Newmarket race might be key with 9 and 3, a Ram Ram, Wood Hay Wonder on top for me.
Yeah, I think the Newmarket race is going to be key, but I'm going to give More Thunder another chance to defy that £5 penalty, which I think he can, given the race setup. So him on top for me. Two Tribes in there for second. Hopefully might be a little bit of a price, given what he did in that Shaquille race last year, the race that 3-year-old handicap, which often throws up a good one. Stanage in for third. I think we'll get a perfect race setup. And a Ram Ram will be towards the front in this race. He'll be going a good gallop, but he often sticks around under those circumstances. I think he will again here. So 8, 11, 12 and 9 for me.
Haggas and Marquand could be in for a big day this weekend, couldn't they?
Just right. I'm going to stick with Graham as well. A Ram Ram for me to reverse that form from the Craven meeting and win it on the weekend that really matters. Number 9, a Ram Ram. A run of 2s hopefully ends on Saturday. We step up in trip for race 3, this big Whirlpool Newmarket Saturday afternoon. It is the 1,800 metres, the iconic 1 mile and 1 of the Cambridgeshire. This is the Suffukk Stakes, though. It is a heritage handicap, 3 rolls and upwards. And there is your course map, just a little bit further than the Guineas that we'll see later in the day. Arabian Light might be a group horse and a handicap, we'll see. Sean's there, Hand of God, further down Silver Sword, Approval, Fox Legacy, a Metallo, Dutch Decoy, and finishing off with Urban Sprawl. Shall we travel to the Middle East, Graham Cunningham, and get the thoughts of yourself in a key form race, albeit on shores much further afield? Arabian Light, I quite like him to go forward with as a useful prospect, to say the least.
Yeah, he's got a good record so far. By Kingman, who's got a few fancied runners this weekend, including the Guineas favourite. He's 3 from 5 so far. This win at Meydan was praiseworthy, missed the break, quickened up nicely, held Sean, a useful if exposed horse. I think he needs to do a bit more, John. He's gone up a fair amount in the weights here. His handicap mark demands that he's a smart performer. Maybe he is. Yeah. I'm a little sceptical.
I think he probably is. I think this run was a bit better than some people gave it credit for. As you say, he missed the break. He had to work into that position. Yeah. They did go quite fast in the early part of the race, so he was recovering that ground when they were going quite quickly. It was slowed down mid-race, and he did attain a pretty good position after that. But I thought that was a pretty good effort. I've not got him on top. He's in second for me, but he's clearly in this race. There are 1 or 2 potential big improvers, and he's one of them.
OK, let's have a look at a horse we haven't seen since Royal Ascot of last year. It is Hand of God. We'll have a look at the performance which preceded that at Sandown, John.
Yeah, I just really like this horse. I mean, this was a rather fiddling race from a tactical perspective, but he bossed it, and when those came to challenge, that needed to challenge, he was able to find a little bit more. The Royal Ascot race was completely different. They went a really strong gallop. He sat off it, sat wide the whole way as well, and then really found the line extremely well. He's one of these horses that I think has got plenty still to come. He's off a mark of 102, Graham. I think it could easily be very workable.
He was backed as if he was a good horse at Royal Ascot. He won like a good horse at Royal Ascot. The second horse, Cambridge, isn't shooting the lights out in Hong Kong at the moment, but I think he's regarded as a bit better than a handicapper. Now, there's a long break to overcome, but the profile is pretty seductive for this horse, and I think he has to be very high on anyone's shortlist.
I just wonder, as a commentator, John, how much you love having a horse with the name of Hand of God going in, and all the puns that could go with it.
There are there's potential for puns, but you've got to try and keep it as professional as possible.
Always, as we do on this show. Right, let's have a look at a horse we haven't seen in ages either. Graham, this is approval as we go back to a big Whirlpool meeting, Glorious Goodwood in the summer.
Yeah, this is a useful horse, another fancied horse for the Haggis stable. When he won at Windsor, he beat a horse called Lord of Love, who's polished that form several times. He's won 2 from 6. He was 7th behind Hand of God in the Golden Gates, but he made amends for that at Goodwood in August. It was a bit of a bunch finish, but as you can see, he splits foes here, goes to the rail, wins without a massive amount in hand, and it's a lengthy absence, John. But Haggis always targets Newmarket's Guineas meeting with improvers, and I think there's a bit better to come from this horse.
Versatile, you were talking about that race at Royal Ascot, the Golden Gate Stakes. He was towards the head of that very strong gallop there. He was held off the pace at Glorious Goodwood, so that is definitely something in his favour. If he goes forward on Saturday, there's not a huge amount of pace in this race, so he might get a bit of a solo. If he does, he's very dangerous. He's in the numbers. As I say, I think Hand of God and Arabian Light might be a bit more progressive, but he's a very good horse.
Tricky. Graham, some of these have got recent form, some of these we're waiting on. So how do you see it going in the 1, 2, 3, 4?
I'm hoping it's going to go 3, 7, 9, 11. Market will not miss Hand of God, even after that lengthy break. But he looked like he just might be better than a 102 rated horse. Can't wait to see him this weekend. 7 approval, didn't win by very far at Goodwood, but I think he's still on the upgrade. I want to put in a good word for number 9, Born Ruler. We might have to wait a bit longer to catch him as a winner, but this is a horse trained by Sir Mark Prescott, who's got a touch of class when the pace is on. An 11 Dutch Decoy, we haven't mentioned yet. We should, because he's just got a very solid record in this race, John, and he's plummeted in the weights.
Yeah, he was second in this last year and 5th 2 years ago, and he might get a pretty good speed setup here as well, prominent in not a particularly well-run race. But yeah, Hand of God for me, he's potentially the bet of the day, I think. As Graham says, he might not be a great price. You're going to be paying the Ryan Moore tax, as Graham eloquently put it in the past, riding for Harry Charlton, but I think he's got a very, very good chance. Arabian Light in there for 2nd, Approval in for 3rd, and Dutch Decoy in for 4th. So 3, 1, 7 and 11 for me.
OK, much to the pleasure of John Blance, who thinks that I've got blue coursing through my veins. I'm going to go for number 1, Arabian Light, to give Charlie Appleby another success in this race, twice in recent years since 2018. Race 4 is the Hong Kong Jockey Club Whirlpool Palace House Stakes. It's the first group race of Saturday, this big Whirlpool day, and it'll be fast and furious. It always is. It's run over the minimum trip of 5 furlongs, 1,000 metres, and 11 run in it. So let's have a look at those. Clarendon House heads them. One for Robert Cowell in there. Democracy Dilemma, No Half Measures, Rumstar, 7 Questions. Twilight Calls, one of a couple in the race who represent New Connections. Washington Heights, Beautiful Diamond, Pepsi Catch. She's Quality, a tropical storm. Now, John Blance, let's go to you and go to this very race 12 months ago, which raised a few eyebrows, I think, when 7 questions came out on top.
Yeah, won at 33 to 1. Watch the year old Twilight Calls, who's taken loads of money in this race in the last 3 years. Beautiful Diamond was a bit unlucky from the gate. I'm going to give her another chance. She was just nudged out to the right from the gate and wasn't able to run straight. Twilight Calls running around all over the place. But look at this, though. 1 1/4 lengths separated first to 7th in this spot. Big price winner. Vadream ran really well as well. She's now, of course, running in the Ellen Chaliner. Look at Twilight Calls doing the Twilight Calls thing. And there's
He'll lure you in each time, won't he?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He's better at Ascot than he is at Newmarket, Twilight Calls. I'm going to give Beautiful Diamond another chance, Graham, but it's a tricky old form line from last year.
Blanket finish for the bingo division. They tend to beat each other, these horses. So at least one of those horses should play a part in the finish. But I think we have a couple of new shooters here who ought to be capable of making a big mark.
It's funny that Twilight Calls actually cost more money than 7 questions in their recent sales to New Yards. We'll see how that goes. Right, no half measures, Graham. Take it away.
Yeah, I think this is a filly who's definitely deserving of a place in this field, and I'd like to think we'll see the best of her this year. She's 6 from 11. Richard Hughes is going well. We pick her up. This is just from a mark of 91, John, in a handicap, but she does it in pretty handsome style. She improved again after Deauville listed race, Newbury Group 3, and an excellent Group 1 performance when 5th in the Prix de l'Abbé from a less than ideal draw. £3 penalty is not ideal. Otherwise, she has a strongly progressive profile. Looking forward to seeing a big runner, I think.
Yeah, she certainly does have a good chance. And you're right, gate 12 in the Abbey wasn't ideal. We haven't seen her since because we don't have the pictures for her subsequent runs, mostly in France, as Graham was saying. Mostly on soft ground, but she has got some good and fast ground form, so it's not a huge problem for me. Stall 10 as well. I wouldn't get too worried about the draw at this time of the year at Newmarket, but you'd still possibly prefer a higher number towards that grandstand rail. So, yeah, she is a definite sort of fly in the ointment to blow the form that we know quite well. It's all interlocking to blow that apart, and she goes in numbers for me, definitely.
Ryan Moore's aboard. He's won on her before.
Let's have a look at Washington Heights, who spent most of last year in very, very good exalted company, and to a degree rightly so. I know went off sporting prices, Graham, in the majority of them, but he's a very good sprinter, and his record at Newmarket on the Rowley Mile course is very strong indeed. So, obviously over 1200.
Some aren't quite nicely. This is Grade 1 Flying 5, and he wasn't quite good enough, but he is in against Brad Sell and company. He ran plenty of good races in defeat last year, but his best performance perhaps came early on in the season, over 6 in the Aberdeen, where he showed tremendous speed and battled on well. He's been to Qatar recently, and he ran very well behind a good quality sprinter, Rogue Lighting, fit. Newmarket's a plus. Should be in the numbers, I think. Right
then, Palace House selections, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks a good race.
Well, chaps, this is the first time I've jumped off the Twilight Calls bus in this race for a while. He's got a new trainer and a new jockey, Jamie Spencer, so you know what happens. But I've gone for a new shooter. It's no half measures. She made tremendous progress last year. She's clearly a proven group racehorse. She has a small penalty, but she's open to improvement. 3 no half measures on top of the speedy, aggressive Washington Heights, Beautiful Diamond and Democracy Dilemma. But I'm fearful of Twilight Calls, but I like the improver. It's no half measures, John. Yeah,
Twilight Calls could well go well, but I've left him out. Maybe that would be a mistake. But Beautiful Diamond on top for me to go better in this race this year than last. Got to have Washington Heights in there for second, no half measures for third, so the same trio as Graham, slightly different order. Clarendon House is interesting. Spent most of last season not starting very well. He was an absolute bullet out the gate at Southwell the other day. If he gets into a good early posse, he might outrun his price. But Beautiful Diamond on top for me.
Clarendon House is the top rated in the race. Right, Washington Heights, I think, has got so many ticks in the right boxes, and I hope he can win. Best of luck, whatever you're going for. Race 5 this big World Pool Day is the big one. It is the first classic of the season. It is the 2,000 Guineas 3-year-old colts over the straight 1,600 metres of the Rowley Mile, which tests these extremely good horses. First run back in 1809. It has been won by some of the elites and the immortals of the thoroughbred since then. Right, let's have a look at the declarations since then, or these. Benevento expanded. Unfortunate for Ryan Moore that perhaps Twain is not his intended mount. A late setback forces that one out. Field of Gold, Green Impact, Ruling Court. Willie Burke rides that one. Scorthy Champ, Seagulls 11, Shadow of Light, Tornado Alert, Wimbledon Hawkeye and Yama Be There. They are your runners in 2025. Let's have a look at one of the leading juveniles of last year, Graham Cunningham. That is Shadow of Light, but with the caveat, of course, this is not William Buick's selected ride today.
Absolutely, we'll come back to that. But this is your champion 2-year-old of 2024. This is 6 furlongs, easy ground, Middle Park Stakes, John. And this was a significant step forward from Shadow of Light, who absolutely bolted up.
Did, yeah. First horse as well. We'll come on to this shortly. First horse since 2017 to win the Middle Park, then go on to win the Dewhurst. This was over the 1,200 metres, then up to the 1,400 as well. Hit the line nicely here, really lengthened nicely as they hit the rising ground there. And as we'll see, repeated the trick a few weeks later.
Yeah, Whistlejacket, the second horse, has come out and won a useful race this spring. Let's move on. Now, I'm perplexed about this race. Likely favourite, the Lion in Winter, was a non-runner. Ground was soft, small field, 2 groups. Hats off to Shadow of Light. I think he had to make 2 runs to win this race, yeah. John. Horse on the right of picture, Expanded. He seemed to excel himself at a big price. Was he flattered? Possibly. How good is Shadow of Light? He's a champion 2-year-old rated 120. Will he stay a mile? That's questionable. Why has he drifted in the market? I don't think people were impressed with his racecourse gallop. What do you think, John?
Well, this wasn't the strongest Dewhurst of all time. I think that's fair to say. He was probably on the wrong side of the track there, so to win was still a pretty good effort. People have crabbed that form subsequently. Interesting, he gets a tongue tie for the first time on Saturday as well. Mikel Barcelona, not William Buick. Could be a very good spare, though, for Barcelona. We'll see.
Do not forget that William Buick has to make difficult choices in his job as number 1 to Godolphin. He had a tough choice. Was it 3 years ago? He chose the champion 2-year-old Native Trail, James Doyle, Here Comes Caribus, and wins the Guineas. So they're difficult choices, but I think William Buick has gone pretty strongly, not with the ratings here, but with homework. And it seems that Ruling Court has been working very impressively, and Shadow of Light didn't impress quite a few people in his Newmarket Racecourse gallop.
Ruling Court had his prep out in the desert. He was expected to win. I don't think it was necessarily what he did on the day as regards the substance of the form, because that's not comparable, I don't think, John. It was the visual and it was the vibe this horse gave off.
Well, there's some push-button acceleration there. If you dig into the sectionals, a big, strapping individual, long stride. He's bred to stay further. He's absolutely devoured the ground here. As you say, the opposition isn't as good as some of the what the others have been against, but this was still visually rather impressive.
There's an X factor about this horse. He was a hot favourite second time out for the Acomb at York, and he got pretty fizzed up in the paddock and pulled pretty hard. So there's a headstrong nature. But I want to ask you, Nick Lightfoot, about this. Take us back to Dubai a couple of months ago. You were the man who interviewed winning jockey William Buick, and the vibes seem to be really strong, and the money has come for this horse.
Very, very strong. And don't forget, it was at a time when already that week Opera Ballo had won. I know he's been beaten since, and also has Aomori City, but I think that there was a real buzz and an expectation that this was their leading 3-year-old. I was about to say that it was a little bit of a worry perhaps that he's a 3-year-old Justified, but I know City of Troy blew out in this race last year, but I think it's okay, isn't it, with the 3-year-olds and Justifies?
It cost 2.3 million as a breezer, and it looks like he's trained on very well. I think the paddock and Pulse Parade will be intriguing. I fear him, but he beat second-raters in Dubai, and this is his acid test.
Do you know what? I think it was the second interview, the one after racing, when Buick was coming out of the weighing room and he was showered down, changed, ready to go and all that, but he was still waxing lyrical about this fella, and he wouldn't necessarily always be like that. Yeah, so I was very much struck.
And if he runs well this weekend, this could be Godolphin's Derby horse.
Potentially. Guineas Derby double, you never know. We're all excited. Right, let's have a look at a Group 1 bit of form and a Group 1 win from last year. John, this is Scorthy Champ, and I know that the trainer of this horse, Joseph O'Brien, has long since seen him as a classic horse.
You can't miss him with that big white face, and good record in terms of beating Henri Matisse twice, and of course we all know what Henri Matisse went on to do in America in the Breeders' Cup. The figures this horse has run as yet haven't been particularly brilliant, Scorthy Champ. If they went the kind of gallop in this race that they went last year, i.e. completely crazy, he could definitely pick his way through. I think it's going to be a slightly more tactical affair this time round. I think he's got a bit to find still, Greg.
White face in the middle being a squeeze, Siegel's 11. On the outside, that is Henri Matisse hanging and opening the door for Scorthy Champ. He's a much more straightforward horse, I think, than Henri Matisse. That was 7 furlongs. He looks like he'll stay a mile. I think he'll run well, but I think there might be 1 or 2 to beat him. OK, another Irish runner, a day before, actually, what we saw from Scorthy Champ at the Curragh. Another Irish runner was Green Impact. This was at Leopardstown, day 1 of the Irish Champions weekend.
This horse,
what do you think? John. I like him. He's a really big, strong, good-looking horse. And he's beaten a horse called Delacroix twice. Beat him in his maiden, beat him here in a small field Group 2. As you can see from this, he is more a galloper than a quickener, John. but physically, I think he's the type to progress from 2 to 3, and I think he'll run well. And again, another horse with the potential to put himself in the frame for the Derby.
Yeah, well, Jesse Harrington's got some good ones with Hot as Hell as well, who doesn't run in this race. Yeah, Green Impact by Wootton Bassett. There'll be plenty of those on show on Saturday afternoon out of a mare by Galileo. So as Graham says, could well want a bit further. And races quite prominently Green Impact. So again, if there's not a huge amount of pace up front, it might be difficult to get past if he's really finding in the closing stages.
OK, shall we then talk about the Craven and Field of Gold? There are a couple of things in here, Graham. No Craven winner, we say it every year. No Craven winner in 21 years. And John Gosden, I know now in training with Thady, of course, doesn't win the 2,000 Guineas.
Yeah, there are a fair few horses who've won the Craven by handsome margins who have then been blown away in the 2,000 Guineas. But how can you not be impressed with this? This was a smart 2-year-old. Everyone thinks that he's thrived physically. And when the gap came, John, his response was impressive. And he beat Wimbledon Hawkeye, Aomori City, I think both Group 2 winners, and look at the stride late on. Come to Gosden, 5 Roaring Lion, 4 Ravens Pass, 3 Anshan, 2 Kingman, who I think is the sire of this horse.
Yeah. It's inexplicable.
It could be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because that is the best trial from this season, arguably the second best piece of form and the potential for more to come, I think, for Field of Gold. Yeah,
Kingman was one of the unluckiest losers in the history of the 2,000 Guineas, and I hope Field of Gold won't have that fate on Saturday afternoon. What we can't see there is in the middle part of that race, the pace slowed and he was shunted right back through the field. So he's had to pass all of them in the closing stages whilst they were quickening, and then to have done that and then put the amount of distance he's done between himself and his rivals, if he reproduces that, he's very, very tough to beat.
OK, not since 2004. Will the Craven winner win the Guineas? We'll find out. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, Graham.
OK, I have to confess that I've done a mini flip-flop here. I was all set to tip Ruling Court ahead of Field of Gold, and then I thought, hang on, Graham. Field of Gold beat Group Race winners, good-looking in the Craven, and Ruling Court, for all that he bolted up in Meydan, he beat second-raters. So I'm playing safe. I'm going 3 Field of Gold ahead of number 5 Ruling Court with Scorthy Champ and Green Impact as backup. But this is a winnable 2,000 Guineas. There are a couple of 3 horses who aren't here who would have been in the market. So step forward, Field of Gold. It's time to break that Gosden duck in the 2,000. Yeah, the Aidan O'Brien battalions haven't turned up here, but even if they had, I still think they would have struggled to beat Field of Gold, who's a confident on-top selection for me. That was a tremendous run. No horse since Halved, as Nick has said, has won this race, won the Craven and gone on to win this race, but I think history might be upended here. Ruling Court in there for second, will run well on Saturday before running extremely well and maybe winning the Derby at Epsom. Shadow of Light in there for third. There's not many holes you can pick in that horse's form, has to be in there. And Expanded, the only Aidan O'Brien runner in the field. It was a solid enough effort in the Dewhurst. He's a decent citizen, but I think they'll have better. But he's just, I think, waiting with 1 or 2 of his better 3-year-olds this campaign. So Expanded gets the call this time round to maybe sneak into 4th, but I don't think he'll be winning. Gents, thank you very much indeed. That was your selections for the 2,000 Guineas. I'm going for Ruling Court. Number 5 to win the first classic. Best of luck, whatever you're playing. Race 6, Newmarket Saturday, is a 2,400 metre handicap. It's a Class 2 event, so the mile 4, they're going to turn before the very long home straight, and it's going to be a race contested by the 8. We hope they very much stand their ground. El Cordobés for William Buick, Charlie Appleby, Godolphin, Lavender Hill Mob. It hasn't worked out over hurdles, really. Back on the flat. French Master, Insanity, Lieber Powerstruth, Knightswood, Speriamo. They are your runners. Let's go back for a little bit more Meydan form. On a couple of occasions in recent times for El Cordobés. We'll get the thoughts of John Blance alongside. This horse ran twice at Meydan, twice runner-up, latterly over this distance. I think he's got quite a lot of physique about him, a lot to be positive about going forward. What do you think? Well, he cost a few quid, 2 million guineas. He was 7th in the Field and Stakes before being, not being seen again last year. A couple of these runs in Meydan. We're looking at the second one here. This was a real sit sprint. He sprinted a bit too early and was then collared on the line by a stable companion, first 2 clear of the rest. He's clearly got lots of potential. This is going to be a bit of a sit sprint as well. I can see no pace in this race, or very little of it at all. So that tactical versatility will help. And, every little helps in terms of getting that 2 million guineas back. I don't think it's that strong a race. And he seems to be on the upgrade. Handicap mark is 100, so he needs to be a smart horse. I think he run well, but he might be a little underpriced based on connections.
Let's have a look at a horse who is very much under the radar and has that dark horse profile. That is French Master, Graham, and go back to the end of last season when last seen, winning handsomely indeed at Kempton's. Got a beautiful profile, now goes up into handicap company and a complete unknown.
Here comes another Frankel, just like El Cordobés. This fella is by the mighty Frankel, and he does this extremely well. He's only had the 3 runs. Donny in July was decisive, nothing flash. Kempton October, 8-13, and look at him late on, piling on the pressure late. And he's open to bags of improvement. But again, he's a mark of 95. It's just a market thing. I'm trying to read the market signs and wonder whether he might be a little bit tight.
They came home at 111% of average speed there. He was on the shoulder in a very slowly run race. If this is a creep-go race and he's prominent, he's got the speed to deal with it.
Less of a dark horse is Speriamo, who has got reasonable form at Newmarket. We're going to go back again, John, to the back end of last season.
Second here at Kempton. This was in October, so again, a layoff to overcome. This is a pretty good effort because got sort of shunted back and then has had to kind of spear her way through in the latter stages, looked being held up in her run. But when the gaps did appear, Graham, she came home very well.
Yeah, Warren Fentiman and Charlie McBride are not going to ring too many bells in the Whirlpool markets, but Whirlpool punters are pretty savvy, and they'll know that this is a useful filly who knows where the winning post is. She's consistent. She seemed to be improving last autumn, and I'd give her a chance here. This young Warren Fentiman, he now claims 5. This mare is going to get 17, 20 pounds plus from the flashy ones at the top of the handicap here. Keep a close eye on Speriamo.
Graham, then, your selections.
8, 3, 1 and 4. Speriamo, I think, is potential win and place value. She's more exposed. She's had, I think, 25 races, but she was getting better last autumn. Good apprentice, getting lots of weight. 8, 3, 1, 4 with Speriamo on top for this one.
Same front 3, but different order for me. I'm going to go with El Cordobés on top. Again, there's potential for plenty of improvement, as there is with French Master. Speriamo, as Graham was saying, maybe not the potential for improvement, but she's consistent. That was a good run at Kempton, no doubt about it. Lavender Hill Mob's interesting. Looked quite promising on the flat. Great. Then has had not a desperately good hurdling career, or maybe not as good a hurdling career as they would have liked. But I think back on the flat will be fit and might go quite well.
And is worth a go at the distance again. And on that note, I take a complete chance that number 2, Lavender Hill Mob, might surprise a few. The drums were being banged over hurdles. It didn't quite happen, but they'd be delighted if he won at HQ. Working our way towards the back end of the card at Newmarket on Saturday's big World Pool Day. Race 7 is a 1,200-metre handicap. It is a Class 2 event, 0 to 100, 3-year-olds, and as mentioned, a dozen go out. It's been won by some very good horses in the past. Creative Force, look no further than, in recent times, Shaquille. Uncle Don heads them. Invictus Gold is their Principality Yard Swap. Still bitter promise with that horse. The Dragon King, Dark Cloud Rising, Carbine Harvester, Too Much For Me, Hoodie Hoo, and American Style. Let's have a look at some pretty recent form involving Invictus Gold. Neil Callum riding for Tom Clover, Graham.
Potentially a well-handicapped horse. This had the strong look of a piece of form to keep an eye on. When you watch him, he's in the firing line from a good way out. He travels keenly and well. Slightly tricky off the bridle. I thought he wandered a little bit, but he's been left off the same mark, and he's only had the 5 runs. Course and distance, no problem. You can see just he wanders a little bit into the whip, but it looks a solid piece of form, John, and he's back from a very workable mark, I think.
And they went slightly faster in this race than they did on the Abernant Stakes, Group 3 on the same card, albeit a slowly run Abernant, but it's still an interesting line. First 3 well clear of the rest. I think he's going to go well. He's in the numbers.
We've got the Dragon King, John, we can have a look at, who clocked off for last season, winning a big auction race at the track.
This is a spectacular piece of form. If you actually watched the whole race, he was miles behind. I mean, he was about 4 or 5 lengths behind the rest of them, and he's looped the field. Now, this is one of these sales races where there can be a bit of deadwood, but still to win in this way, Graham, was something else, and I think he's very, very interesting in this spot.
Still not in the picture.
You know I'm going to disagree, because I don't like horses who come flying from miles back having been outpaced, and that's what he did. He hits the... Here he comes, 73.57. He finally gets the message from his rider, and he beats some handy rivals going away at the end. But he's been gelded since. He doesn't often get outpaced, but he did there. And if he does this weekend, I think he's in a bit of trouble. So, for better or for worse, the Dragon King is not for me.
OK. We love another Shaquille. That's what we, of course, want. We want the very best horses to emerge. Who do you think comes out on top this year?
I've got one here, I think. We haven't got a video of him. He's a horse called So Darn Hot, who is very effective on turf, but he's progressed really well on the all-weather. A couple of wins, including the Lingfield one, where he quickened really well off the bend, held on nicely. Last time out on all-weather finals day at Newcastle, chuck out, complete chuck out. He got no room whatsoever. Judge him on the Lingfield run, and he is a significant player here. Win and place, So Darn Hot. 3, Invictus Gold with the strong Newmarket form. 11, the speedy, unexposed Huddy Who. And 6, Richard Fahey's fairly strong Impact, who made a pretty good impression last year. But 5, So Darn Hot, in terms of the handicaps, and they're all tough this weekend, would be one of my stronger plays.
Yeah, there might be a way of playing this race, just taking the hold-up horses and sort of combining them, because there's going to be loads of pace on here. American Style, Huddy Who, Milford will go forward, 1 or 2 others as well. It could really show some good early pace too. Going to go with the Dragon King now. I'm going to disagree with Graham. Let's see who's right about this horse. But I think that Molten Gallop will definitely help the Dragon King, and it was undoubtedly a very interesting performance. I think that's probably the best way of putting it last time out here at this course and distance, and the strong gallop will help. Stormy Impact there for second. Good fifth at Ayr at their September meeting. Thought that was a nice performance. I've got a Carbine Harvester in there for fourth, like and Invictus Gold in for third, just in front of the Carbine Harvester, both of which will be, again, a little bit back in the run and hopefully staying on. But as I say, there might just be a pace play in this race.
You're staying on pretty slowly, a Carbine Harvester, I'd imagine. Right, I'm going to take a complete chance on number 4, Principality, who I liked it to. I think was probably a bit of an underachiever. Sold on to join Harry Eustace, goes into handicap company, and unless I put the complete mockers on it by the time of talking at least, Harry Eustace's yard are in good form. So number 4, Principality for me. Race 8 at Newmarket this Saturday, 2000 Guineas Day Whirlpool Welcome Back Day in 2025. It is the Aston Martin Confined Handicap, and that is for horses which have won no more than 1 race. I'm not sure quite what the steps are, but I don't think you win an Aston Martin if you win the race. 1,400 metres is the trip, and 13 runners. Rogue Diplomats there, Gilet, Baronia, Silver Ghost, Rockin' the Boat, White Crown Star, Solar Army, and Nahash, Hunky Dory, Louis the Legend, Noble Guest. Let's have a look at some more Craven Stakes form. Graham, I'm going to come to you chiefly for White Crown Star, I imagine.
Yeah, this is a horse who's ready to win, I think. He had 3 runs for Sir Michael Stout. He's had 2 runs for Andrew Balding. He looked a pretty useful horse at Kempton, and likewise here. Second in a course and distance handicap, he was well back, John, 11 to 8. Some people just thought he didn't really finish off that strongly, but he was clear at the remainder behind a big improver of Haggis's Art Market. You have to think from a £2 higher mark, he's going to play a significant role. Yeah,
I didn't think he finished particularly well, but he did stumble at the start and had to sort of use up quite a bit to get into the race. So I'm willing to forgive him that. He goes in the numbers for me. I haven't got him on top, but he's potential improver.
Roger Teal's having a good time. I think he's got his really nice Dancing Gemini. He'll be hopeful of Newmarket's success with Solar Army, who started 2025 with a win, John.
Yeah, there's plenty to like about this performance. Did pull rather hard, was quite prominent, then got sort of shunted back through the run, but then stayed on really well over the 1,400 metres. I think the straight track 1,400 will probably suit better than round the bend 1,400 at Kempton. So, a lot to like about this, Graham.
Agreed. There's a slight tendency to edge right. You can see it here. He manifested this once or twice before, but he'd been gelded before then, and I think the way he settled matters there before idling was pretty encouraging. So I think a £4 rise for what that horse achieved there is plenty fair enough, and I think he'll be hard to keep out the money, this fella.
And we'll have a word on Baronia as well, who actually, when running over 1,400 metres at most recently, Graham, did win. That was at Ayr, as we see it, back in September. Has since been to France and returned over 1,200 last time.
Yeah, I think she's in the mix here. She's had 7 runs, 1 or 2 more than a few of these, but I do think her connections will get a bit more improvement out of her. And she came back to 6 furlongs after this and ran pretty well. But I think 7's more the sweet spot for Baronia, John.
Yeah, I was at Doncaster when she ran the other day, and it was a definite feel of a pipe opener about it. Interesting, they got her straight back in here. Billy Lochnan has finished 2nd, 3rd and 1st under the 3 times he's ridden her. Interesting, he's back on, and I think she's primed to go very well. In fact, I've got her on top.
Billy the Kid, right. Let's have a look at, or get the thoughts of both John and first up Graham on their selections.
It's going to be 7, 8, 3, 1 for me, and I think we're on the right track here with White Crown Star, who ran up against a smart horse last time and was clear at the remainder, only £2 higher. £4 rise for what Solar Army achieved when winning at Kempton looks very fair. 3 and 1 as backup, but key horses in the market and in the race, I hope. 7 and 8, John.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few I wouldn't put you off here, but I'm going to go with Baronia on top. I do like that Billy Loughnane angle, and it was a good run at Doncaster the other day over an inadequate trip, I thought. Rocking the Boat in there for second. Got that Verse of Love form, which is interesting at the back end of last season. Course and distance. White Crown Star for the reasons given by Graham. And Nahash is interesting there too in a race which might just set up nicely for it. But as I say, there are quite a few horses that I haven't put in my numbers who I quite clearly could have done. So it's a competitive race.
Seriously, well-bred filly as well out of Music Show, Rocking the Boat. I'm with Graham though. White Crown Star, I think he's going to be incredibly difficult to beat, and hopefully goes one better than last time. And so for the last race of 9 on the first day of the World Pool 2025 at Newmarket, it is a handicap over 1,600 metres. It's for 4-year-olds and upwards, Class 3 event, and there is your final course map of the day. You'll be well familiar with it by now, doubtless. If it doesn't get an easy outcome for anyone, well, 15 is the biggest field of the day. Trappy Handicap, Mr. Baloo, Mersky Darkness, Sterling Knight, Crack Shot. We'll talk about him in a moment to a time. Dolce Courage, Great Chief, Turn Down to Classic Encounter, Waiting All Night, Long-Haired General, He's a Gentleman, Charming Whisper. One horse who has seen it, done it, Graham, is Crack Shot, who won this last year. 14 standing his way this year.
80,000 guineas to take him from, was Ed Walker, I think, to the Kublers, very capable training operation. And after 1 or 2 defeats, he's back from the very same mark. And I don't think he's gone backwards, because when we last saw him at Kempton, he ran really well. Last year's race was competitive. This year's is too. But we know the conditions are bang on. And we know his handicap mark is identical to 12 months ago, John. Lots of pluses.
Yep, and it means he carries exactly the same weight as well. It translates to 9 stone 9 again. So, yeah, Alto finished second there, went on to win the Bunbury Cup. The race has worked out very well. And, yep, I've got him on top for a repeat victory.
Classic Encounter opens the score sheet last time. Hadn't won in 6 prior, but I was quite impressed with this, John, at Redcar.
It was, yeah. I mean, Redcar races aren't necessarily great pointers to big handicaps at Newmarket, but this was a good effort, and it was a properly run race as well. Lay off the speed and then came through to win very strongly. And, of course, this season as well, so has that bit of a fitness edge on maybe 1 or 2 of the others here. So, again, this one is definitely one to consider for the numbers, certainly.
I thought he wouldn't like an improver here. You can see how well on top he is late on. The 4th horse, Cruyff Turn, has won since to polish it. He's only had 7 runs. 3 of those were for Charlie Appleby Godolphin in the early days. Yes, this is a better race, but look at the way he won. He's on the up, that lad. Yeah,
Jakova, relative of Gaiath, and as he said, originally for Godolphin. There are plenty of others to bring into calculation. Mr. Baloo's having a brilliant time on the all-weather. But to whittle it down to just 4, Graham.
Well, I think we might have shown the right VTs here. It's a tough one. But I think 11, 5, 7 and 4. Classic Encounter, I think he's still on the upgrade. So he goes on top of last year's winner, Crack Shot. Easy to make a case for him. Number 7, Dolce Courage, is a bit of a trickster. Slow starting hold-up horse who can get behind and meet some trouble, but there's loads of ability there. And 4, Sterling Knight. But 11 and 5, the 2 VTs, might hold the key to the nightcap.
Yeah, Crack Shot to go back-to-back in this race for me. Daniel and Claire Kubler gave this one a nice little tune-up the other day as well, so should be primed for this horse number 5. Classic Encounter for all the reasons that Graham gave. Cogitate has got some good form in the book, and that run behind EBT's guard at Newbury wasn't bad at all last time out, and Sterling Knight in there for 4th. But Crack Shot to win this race again.
John, Graham, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for watching the first instalment of our World Pool previews, which will run, of course, throughout the year. It is Newmarket Centre Stage on Saturday. For what it's worth, I'm a Classic Encounter fan as well, number 11, but best of luck, whatever you choose, up and down the 9-race programme. Enjoy the day.